The demographic crisis in China, a threat to its global ambitions. China has long been viewed as the most formidable challenger to the United States' dominance in the international system. With its massive economy, large military, advanced technology, robust education system, and strong political alliances, China has invested heavily in building its strengths over decades. However, despite these impressive assets, China faces a critical weakness that could significantly undermine its economic, political, and even military ambitions: its demographic crisis, particularly the decline in its young population. For over a decade, the Chinese government has been trying to prevent or delay this demographic crisis, but its efforts have largely failed. The root of the problem lies in the declining marriage and birth rates, which have reached alarming levels. For instance, in 2013, China recorded approximately 13.47 million marriage registrations. While this number might seem substantial, it has been declining steadily each year. By 2024, the number of marriage registrations had plummeted to just 6 million, despite the population increasing to over 1.4 billion people. This sharp decline raises serious concerns about China's future. The reluctance of young Chinese people to marry and have children is a complex issue. Many view marriage as an unattainable or even undesirable goal. The government has encouraged young people to marry, but its efforts have been met with indifference or resistance. The result is a society where marriage rates are collapsing, and those who do marry are delaying childbirth or having fewer children. This trend has profound implications for China's future, as a shrinking and aging population could hinder its ability to sustain economic growth, maintain its military strength, and achieve its global ambitions. The origins of China's demographic crisis can be traced back to the infamous one-child policy, implemented in 1979 to control population growth. While the policy succeeded in slowing population growth, it also distorted the country's demographic structure. Families, preferring male children for cultural and economic reasons, often resorted to sex-selective abortions or infanticide of female infants. This led to a significant gender imbalance, with men outnumbering women by approximately 30 million in 2024. The policy also accelerated population aging, transforming China from a young nation in the 1980s to one where the average age is now over 40, with projections suggesting it could rise to 52 by 2050. The one-child policy was officially abandoned in 2015, and the government has since encouraged families to have 2 or even 3 children. However, these efforts have failed to reverse the decline in birth rates. In fact, the relaxation of restrictions has had the opposite effect. As the government urged young people to have more children, many chose to have fewer or none at all. This paradox highlights the deep-seated challenges facing China's demographic policies. One of the primary reasons for the declining marriage and birth rates is the economic pressure on young Chinese people. Marriage in China is an expensive endeavor, requiring significant financial resources. 2 major expenses dominate the cost of marriage: the bride price, mahar, and the purchase of a home. In some regions, the average bride price can reach $200,000, and in extreme cases, families demand even more. Additionally, the expectation that the groom must own a home before marriage has fueled a housing market where prices are prohibitively high. In cities like Beijing and Shanghai, the average price per square meter can exceed $10,000, making homeownership an unattainable dream for many young people. These economic pressures are compounded by high youth unemployment, which stands at nearly 20% for those aged 16 to 24. Even for those who find employment, incomes are often insufficient to cover the costs of marriage and starting a family. As a result, many young people delay marriage or avoid it altogether, focusing instead on securing their financial stability. Cultural and social factors also play a significant role in China's demographic challenges. Unlike in some Western countries, where out-of-wedlock births are common, Chinese society remains conservative, with the vast majority of births occurring within the institution of marriage. This means that declining marriage rates directly translate to declining birth rates. The government's attempts to encourage childbirth outside of marriage have been largely ineffective due to societal norms and legal barriers. Moreover, the burden of caring for aging parents falls heavily on the shoulders of the only child in many families, a legacy of the one-child policy. This responsibility, combined with the financial pressures of marriage and homeownership, leaves many young people feeling overwhelmed and unwilling to take on the additional burden of raising children. the Chinese government has implemented various measures to address the demographic crisis, including financial incentives for families to have more children, marriage promotion campaigns, and even proposals to lower the legal marriage age to 18. However, these efforts have had little impact. Young people continue to delay marriage and childbirth, and the demographic trends show no signs of reversing. In 2024, China's population declined for the third consecutive year, and the number of marriage registrations hit a record low. At the same time, divorce rates have risen, further complicating the demographic picture. The government's inability to effectively address these issues raises questions about its capacity to sustain China's rise as a global power. China's demographic crisis poses a significant threat to its ambitions of becoming a global superpower. The combination of a shrinking workforce, an aging population, and declining birth rates could undermine the country's economic growth, military strength, and social stability. While the government has recognized the problem and taken steps to address it, its efforts have so far been ineffective. The challenges are deeply rooted in decades of demographic policies, economic pressures, and cultural norms. To overcome these challenges, China will need to implement more innovative and comprehensive solutions that address the underlying causes of the crisis. Otherwise, its dream of surpassing the United States and leading the international system may remain just that, a dream.